Okay, I think after a little bit of a false start, I think we're all good to go now. So, wanted to say hi to anyone who is watching. Excited to have Helen Aitchison joining me today. Hi, Helen.
Hello, Jackie. Thank you for having us.
And some of you might remember that Helen has been our author for the day before, so great to have you back to chat with me. Helen is a writer from Northeast England. She is the director of a community interest company, Right on the Time, which provides creative writing courses and mentoring with a focus on engaging marginalised people. Helen also teaches for her local council, is a freelance writer, and an online journalist for Radio Gateshead. Helen has 20 years' experience in the health and social care sector, from frontline support work with victims of domestic abuse to senior management for a national charity supporting homeless and vulnerable adults and young people. So thanks so much for joining us. Want to just share, I've just finished reading The Life and Love Attempts of Kitty Cook, which I've got my copy
Okay.
there. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about your books?
Yes, thanks, Jackie. Um, I only got into writing 4 years ago, and I think that's an important place to start because I think society kind of enforces that we have always got to have wanted to have done something to achieve it. And for me, writing was never on the agenda. And I think if you've had a dream from childhood and you're going towards that goal, that's brilliant. But I think it's also okay to wake up one morning and decide you want to do something and kind of go towards that goal. So I was never kind of interested in writing until 4 years ago, and a number of sort of paths led us to becoming a writer. And once I started, I couldn't stop.
Mm.
So the Life and Love Attempts of Kitty Cook is my second novel. I'm signed with Gay Hill Davis Publishing, who are based in the UK. And The Life and Love Attempts of Kitty Cook is my second novel. It was released in March this year. My first novel, The Dinner Club, was released in March 2022. And The Life and Love Attempts of Kitty Cook it's basically a feel-good book. It's based loosely, excuse me, on my disastrous dating life. So I had over 35 first dates. And I went into dating in my early 30s where I'd had a long-term relationship. And, you know, all those expectations and pressures that we have as women in society were on me at that age. And I embarked on online dating. So Kitty Cook kind of follows the trajectory of what I followed with my dating life, trying to find Mr. Right, not Mr. Right now. But as well as the search for love, it's also about finding yourself and accepting yourself, and it's about friendship. And really the underlying issue that it's never too late to find love. So even though I was only in my 30s, at the same time, my friend who is now 65 was also looking for love, and
Mm.
she found a husband. So yeah, it's a feel-good kind of humorous novel around dating disasters, finding yourself and finding Mr. Right or Mrs. Right.
Mm. And you said you only recently, like in the last 5 years, started writing. What made you decide that that's what you wanted to do? And when you did decide that, how did you go about getting a book published?
Yeah, so basically I began reading again, Jackie, and I hadn't read for
Mm,
around 15 years because I was
mm,
busy with my career and just
mm,
life got in the way. It was never on the priority list. And a friend of mine self-published a book about his career in the police and then working with a charity that I worked for. So I was really proud of him and I wanted to support him. And I read his book, and it was his book that led me into reading more. So I began reading sort of 50, 60, 70 books a year. Um, and I was on holiday and I read a book by Mitch Albom called The Five People You Meet in Heaven, which is a brilliant book.
mm,
And I just loved this book, Jackie, and I felt like it was so profound and really kind of left a mark on me. And I thought, I want to try writing. So I applied for a competition with a local theatre company to get on a course with local people around writing for playwriting. So I wrote a small piece about domestic abuse, and I got on this course, and I was really inexperienced. I'd never wrote anything before apart from emails and the odd report at work. And I went along and I did this training, and it was brilliant. but I was very inexperienced. And I learnt loads and I just absorbed the information. I met some great people. And then I started experimenting. So me writing, as a completely new writer, I was just trying different genres, different styles of writing, in particular poems, because I thought that was a really quick way to sort of get into writing and to be really expressive and to try different themes. And I started to get things published. I was sending things off to sort of free online competitions, free submissions to magazines, anthologies, and I was getting things published. So I thought, I can't be that bad. And then it just evolved. So I began sort of writing larger pieces. I wrote short stories. And then I had the idea for the Dinner Club, which was my first novel. And I wrote it in about 6 months. And it was kind of a secret at first. I never really told anyone apart from my partner, because I thought, I'm not a writer. A writer has to have done X, Y, and Z. And I hadn't. My university degrees were criminology and sociology, and social work, completely different. And I didn't think I was kind of worthy, I guess, in a way. So I kept it a secret, but I kept writing. And one of the characters in the Dinner Club was based on my grandmother, and my grandmother died really suddenly as I was writing. So it became something that was cathartic and therapeutic for me to write through my grief. And then in the end, I'd finished this manuscript. I didn't know what to do with it, never been in that position before. I looked for some local and national and international competitions where maybe I would get some mentoring and a bit of support to get the book published. And I didn't get anywhere with any of those. And a lot of them cost money. And I thought, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. So I thought I'd take some time out and apply to traditional publishing as my first preferred route. So I did. I sent my manuscript off to I think it was 3 or 4 publishers, and I got offers from 2. So I couldn't believe it. It was it was really surreal. And I signed with GGOBC Publishing because they sent such a lovely email and just really got what I wanted from the book. They really understood the message and the characters. And that was kind of it. It took a year. It was completely new. It's been a brilliant process. I'm still sort of pinch me moments at times because it just feels surreal. But it's been brilliant, and it's completely changed my life, changed my career. And I want to advocate that everyone should give it a go. I think we've all got a story to tell.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. And could you tell us a little bit about what sort of research you've done for your books?
So a lot of my books, Jackie, and a lot of my stories are based on life experiences. So the Dinner Club has some social issue themes, and that's a big part of my writing. So the Dinner Club has issues around bereavement, about being a carer, around domestic abuse, around young people who are homeless and in care, single parenthood. And a lot of those are based on experiences I've had personally or experiences I've worked alongside in my 20-year health and social care career. So I haven't done a lot of research, but I do have, through my business, I do non-fiction work. So I published a book around local veterans, and that was 22 veterans spanning 70 years of conflict. So within those types of books, my non-fiction pieces, I do my research. Obviously, I'm telling people stories and I'm capturing their stories, but it's really important to be accurate around certain things. So it depends on the type of book that I'm writing, but most of my fictional work is based on my own experiences. So yeah, there's not a massive amount of research there, but the non-fiction, it's important to get that as accurate as possible.
And like you've mentioned, your books do talk about a lot of things that are probably common in a lot of people's lives. What sort of feedback have you had from readers? And have you had like readers say, oh, that's exactly what happened to me, or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. And you know, it's priceless, to be honest, right? Having those comments. There was one person who read the Dinner Club, and one of the characters who was questioning her sexuality and is a young care leaver and homeless, got a little bit of eating distress. And someone contacted me and said, that character feels like me. And because I've read about that character, Cora, it's led me to seek help. So that was really, just like, wow. Amazing. And then one of the characters, Florence, who was based on my late grandma, a guy, a writer who's become a friend in a different part of the UK, contacted me and said, Florence is my mum, and my mum's just passed, and my mum's called Florence, and the character brought real comfort to him and his time of need. So things like that they're just amazing. You know, the goosebump moments that are priceless. It's been lovely, and that's all I wanted when I wrote the book. And you know, Kitty Cook is just to bring comfort and hope and acceptance to one person is worth it. You know, it's worth it all.
And we've got a few people watching, so just wanted to say to the people watching, if you do have a question for Helen, please type it in comments and I can read it out. I've got a question from Sharon. She wonders if you're working on another book at the moment and if you can tell us anything about it.
Thank you, Sharon. Yes, I am. So I've got a book that is going through the editing process at the moment and will be released next spring. And that's called 31 Days of May. And 31 Days of May, without giving too much away, is around serendipity. May is a young person and has a lot of tragedy in her life. And it's around finding light in the darkest of places. And that when you least expect it, sometimes things come into your life to change your direction. So it's all around serendipity, around hope, and around friendship.
And Wendy has a good question. She wonders if it's hard to work with people with these life issues and then continue on a similar topic in your own time.
That's a brilliant question, Wendy. Yeah, I think it is hard. So I worked with people with complex needs for 20 years. It's all I've ever really known, to be honest. You know, worked with a number of people with severe trauma, and it kind of became normal and inverted commas to me. That was my job, and it was something I was good at. And I think what happened was, through my own personal experiences and working with all those people, I really feel that I have an understanding of human psychology and human connection and relationships and needs, and that we're all vulnerable and that none of us are immune to things that happen in everyday life as well as more traumatic events. So writing about it, it felt like second nature. It feels like second nature for me to be able to write about how someone might feel in a certain circumstance, even if I've never felt it myself. So although it is kind of, you know, you work in a chip shop and you don't eat chips for tea, it is that kind of thing of, actually, for me, it's very natural. And it's really nourished me as a writer as well as a practitioner all those years. And it continues to nourish me as a practitioner in my own business. So it's kind of, it's my normal, it's my everyday, really. But yeah, brilliant question.
And I'm wondering what you like to read yourself and if there might be something you want to recommend to us.
So I'll talk about my favourite authors first. So my favourite authors are Mitch Albom, who I mentioned, and his work kind of got me into writing because I just love the way he wrote about human connections and just really simple words that are put together to make such an impact. I also love Matt Haig, who his first book was called Reasons to Stay Alive, and it was around his own mental ill health. But he also writes a lot of fiction and children's books, and I just think he's really brilliant. I think he's really inspiring. And I love Frederick Backman as well. So it's strange that my favourite authors are all men, but I think they write just brilliantly. So they're my favourite authors. But books-wise, I read probably about 50 to 60 books a year. A lot of them are from the writing community on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. But I have read 2 books this year, which I really enjoyed. I'm just going to get my list up. And one is quite an old one. It's by Dawn French, and it's called Because of You.
Oh, yes, I've read. Well, I listened to that one. That's a great one, isn't it?
Brilliant. Yeah. And I wasn't expecting it because I've read some other Dawn ones, and I was just like, oh, wow, it's just a beautiful, very, very moving book. And like I say, I think, you know, it's not a new book, but it's brilliant. So you may be able to get it cheap on Kindle or in the charity shop. And I've just read a book by Tess Gerritsen called Playing with Fire. And again, that was slightly different at Tess Gerritsen's usual themes. It was just brilliant, and it was around history, and it went back to the Second World War, and then to the kind of nowadays. So that those are the 2 I would say that I've read this year that I've really enjoyed. But yeah, my favourite my favourite authors are Matt Haig, Mitch Albom and Frederick Backman.
And when you decided that you wanted to become a writer, and probably now as you're getting established in that, have you had someone in your life who's really encouraged you through that time?
It's a brilliant question. I've been really lucky in that my whole support network is really strong, and I think that makes a real difference, because I think sometimes people don't have people who want to read the work or want to support them, or it can be inconvenient, and people have got busy lives. So I've been really supported by my partner, who reads everything that I write and is really honest. My mum wants to read everything. My mum would probably say that anything I wrote was brilliant, so she's not always the best with regards to giving a critique, bless her. But my sister has a really good support as well. And I've got a supportive network in friendships, but also online. And I think that's really important for people. If you're wanting to write and you feel I haven't got people who would read my work, or I haven't got a massive family support network, the online community is really, really supportive. And I've met some brilliant people who have become friends across the world. So I'm really lucky in that way, but that's available to everyone, that support network.
And what sort of things have you been able to do to promote your books?
So I think I've been really lucky in the fact that my publisher, Cahill Davis Publishing, really nurtures that and really supports that. So there's been a lot of national and international opportunities like this, for example, which is brilliant. But also for me, locally, my area where I live is really, really supportive. I've done some local book signings. I've been on the local radio. I've had local interviews. I've also had my first book, The Dinner Club, was chosen as a book of the year for my local library. So it's been a massive campaign. Yeah, they've been super, and it's been a real campaign about getting people to fall in love with reading again and visiting the local libraries. So I've been really, it's hard work, the marketing side of it's hard work, and it never really stops, but it's brilliant, and you get to meet loads of wonderful people who really support what you do. And for me, I've met people, who I never knew before, who have read my books, who want to come to launches and want to get involved, and it's just lovely. It's really humbling, and I'm really grateful every day.
And Kelly wonders if there was something that first inspired you to write a book.
It was definitely reading that got me into writing. But with regards to the book, I just had these ideas about people and about how people can be really, really different, but can come together and forge friendships and can support one another. And people that you would never normally put in a room together can become the most bonded of folk. And that's really what inspired us to write my first book, The Dinner Club, was around that we're all different, but we all need the same things. And it was around food, bringing people together, and around acceptance, and around hope, and around friendship and love, and in second chances, and never giving up. So yeah, there was something around just characters that wouldn't go away in my head, and just this idea that I wanted to make something really, really basic that would connect people and make people feel part of something.
And do you find that writing energizes or exhausts you?
Oh, brilliant question. It probably exhausts me, because I do things that I've learned over time when I've talked to other writers. They say about different types of writing, like pantsers and plotters, and I'm a real manic writer, which isn't a good way. I was talking to a guy I was teaching, and this guy said, I've been writing my book for 30 years. And I was like, what? 30 years? I wrote one in 17 days. But none of us are right doing it that way. So I'm really manic. And I kind of have, if I have a period at work where I've got a couple of weeks, I'll write something and I'll not stop, and I'll completely get absorbed in it. And then the whole editing will take way longer than the writing. So it drains me. I'm loving it at the time, and it's kind of like I'm hyper with it, but then I'm absolutely worn out afterwards. So then I need a rest from it, or I'm writing someone else's work through my business. So I don't necessarily do it the right way. And I think the right way is probably to try and give yourself time and enjoy it. rather than become obsessed with it or take forever and a day with it. It's about getting balanced, but it's also about what works for you as a person as well. And sometimes people can only snatch time where they can take it, or sometimes people want to, reflect and absorb and take the time with things rather than a scattergun approach, which I do. But that's the way that my kind of mind works. So you've just got to find your own way, really.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with me. It's been great to have you back again, and excited to look out for more of your books. Hope I get to talk to you again.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the questions.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who joined in and asked some questions. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.